So I've currently taken the caliper off this. I haven't done the other side yet. I've got the bucket there just with the line in it so that any excess fluid comes, brake fluid will go down into that bucket and not on the paint. And that's why I've wrapped it with some cling wrap there. I've taken the pistons out. It really hurts me not to completely rebuild something when I do this, but because this is going to be a budget build, I have to do everything I can without actually purchasing parts. So taking the pistons out, I've cleaned them up, I've cleaned out all the inside, blown it all out with carby cleaner actually, and then dried it out with high pressure air. And now I'm just probably going to throw it in the blast cabinet. I've just sealed this hole up and put everything else back in there so there's no problems. But I would have loved to replace these rubbers and the actual rubbers that go inside here. They weren't too bad, to be totally honest with you. However, if I pull something down, I like to replace it with all brand new stuff. I did have a look online to see how much they're going to cost, and they're not exactly that cheap, so I'm going to see if I can get away with it without actually spending it. I hope they don't leak, because if they do, then they're going to leak on the wheel and I'll have to paint the wheel again. That's something that I hope I don't have to do. So let's throw this in the blast cabinet and I will show you that process as well. If I can. I won't be able to show you too much because it gets real dusty and hard to see. But I have got my GoPro sitting here ready to go, so I'll go and put that on the cabinet and let's see what it looks like. So this paint seems to come off fairly easy. It's no big drama for this glass to actually take this paint off. You don't necessarily need a sandblast cabinet, it's just a lot faster. And I have it, so I'm going to use it. So this is what it looks like as soon as I take it out of the blast cabinet. The main thing I wanted to do was get as much of the actual flaky paint off as I can, and I've gone a little bit more extreme than I needed to. As you can see, there's some real stubborn bits of paint which can stay there, they're never going to move, so I'll just wipe that down with some rubbing alcohol, put a coat of primer and paint it, and that's obviously one that I've just done. So she's all painted, looks way better than what it did. And that's all I needed. As long as they function well and they look good, I'm happy.
You said it's gonna be a time for you and me, and did not know it. Everything is gone, we're children of the war. Where do we go now?
So I definitely need some more fine tuning, but what I've done here is I've taken the actual head covers off, the valve covers, and just pretty much setting my gaps. I've got some feeler gauges here and I'm basically just setting the gaps under here to make sure the exhaust and the inlet gaps are right. It was a little bit noisy, it hasn't been running very well, so that's what I thought I'd step up to next. I'd start conquering the problem here to make sure the gaps are correct, and by doing that on a CX, it's just a matter of finding the top dead center, which your little inspection port is down here, just underneath your carburetor on the, I guess, right hand side, and you can see little markings inside there. And to turn the actual engine, there's a little, you can see a little point just in there where you can actually get to it. It's a 17 mil. And also what I like to do is when I take the spark plugs out, obviously to make it easy to turn over, I just throw a rod down in there and I can just watch it. I'm not saying it will never be up top dead center, but it's just nice to watch it, to see it get up to the top. Time to hit this with some sandblast. A home sandblaster has its limitations, and what I'm doing here is I'm going to dip this in some acid to actually release the chrome, to try and get the chrome off as much as I can. Some hydrochloric acid, I'm not recommending to do this, but it's what I think will work. I'm just going to basically use 30 to 40% acid, hydrochloric acid, to the rest water. So I'm taking all precautions, basically glasses, respirator, long sleeves, and just even heavier duty gloves, just to make sure that, you know, I don't get this on me, because hydrochloric acid is pretty nasty stuff. Let's get the acid in and take it out as soon as it's done. So I've had it in this solution for roughly about 20 minutes now, and I think I can see it starting to discolor, like starting to change a little bit of a gold color, and there's like bubbles forming. So I think it's starting to work, but it's really hard to tell at this stage. So now that I've got the bike running fairly well, I'm going to start working on the exhaust. I've got the ramp out here because I'm about to take the CB750 off the stand. So it's coming down on the floor for the first time in a while, and this guy's going up, and then I'm going to jack this up so I can get a decent height to work on that exhaust so I can see what I'm doing. So I'm not entirely sure if my acid trick worked. Definitely got a lot of the chrome off the underside. I've left it in there for probably about an hour, and I don't think that I really want to leave it in there any longer. So I'll just give it a hit with the sandblast, get it etched, and then get some primer on it so that I can paint it up. But before I obviously prime it and paint it, I'll do the cuts that I need to do to shorten it down. So that's basically what they look like after they come out of the sandblast cabinet. Yeah, it's really hard to see in that cabinet with the camera, so it just pretty much gets so misty really quick. So what I've done is just started the recording and then thought I'd just show you what it looks like at the end. I also decided to do the rear one just purely because I may end up using it, I don't know. I'll just put a bit of primer on it in case I do decide to use it, or maybe even paint it black, I don't know. But I may cut it around about there, depending on where the hoop sits. See, if the hoop goes around here, it might just look pretty cool just tucked up on the back. It all depends on how that hoop sits, but it may look kind of cool, just the tail end of it. I've already got some holes here I could possibly use for mounting the tail light. It's all going to depend on this hoop and how this hoop sits, if I decide to use it or not, but it's there, it's free. I am going to try and use it if I can, but if I can't, I'll have to purchase one, and this is the free way of doing it, as opposed to actually going and buying something else for the bike. Try and keep that budget in mind. For now, I'm going to put this one on the bike, measure it up, work out where exactly I want to cut it, and then trim it down, and we'll go from there. So for the process of actually cutting this mudguard or fender, I'm working out exactly how long I want it, and then from that point, then I'm going to shape it. I'm probably going to run with this line here, not the line at the very bottom, but the actual line here. So cut it back, sort of back from here, follow that line, and then just run through into this line here. This duck beak shape, I don't necessarily want to keep. I mean, I've seen a lot of guys that actually just take that exact shape and then like draw it out on a piece of cardboard and then put the piece of cardboard on top and then follow that line. So I want to keep it more custom than just taking what Honda had. I want to make it more unique to the bike rather than just keeping what's original. Although that is a pretty cool shape, I don't mind it. It does fit with the bike, but just taking a little bit more of a, because that obviously has that shape, but it also has obviously the folded steel that gives it that lip that kicks out. So rather than just trying to keep what Honda originally had, like just make it unique. So that there is pretty much as long as I'm going to have it. On the back, I'm going to probably make it a little bit shorter, not heap shorter, but that's what I'm thinking right now.
See them again. Won't you let me
The battery that I've decided to go for this Scrambler build was this brand. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but it's the same battery that I'm using for the CB750 behind the camera there. And this one is actually smaller than that one, just due to the fact that it's a 500cc as opposed to a 750. And it is incredibly small. That's it. Like, seriously. If I compare that to my iPhone, that's iPhone 6. Yes, there's not much to it. So that's the standard battery in the CX500s, as you can see, and it weighs a fair bit. Now in comparison, that's the battery that I'm putting in it. So it's literally tiny. So my original plan was to mount this battery up under here. Basically make a little box that fits up inside there, and then mount the battery, which I could still possibly do because the physical size of this is awesome. I even have the option now to install it just here. Even if I wanted to mount it up a little bit higher and have the seat pan going over it, that's also an option. So I just realized that there is another place where this can be homed. Now that is pretty damn cool. I can't believe it actually fits there. I don't know if I can keep it in this position just purely because I don't think there's enough room to actually manufacture a box for it to fit in. Like, there's really minimal room in there, and I will probably make a box out of steel with a lid. So yeah, that's 3 options I have. I don't know which one I'll choose, but I guess stay tuned and you'll soon find out.